Hello everybody, my name is Christian Quick and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking, I mean, we have already made a ton of blocks, and if we look at a lot of them, the majority of them are copy blocks. And today we are going to copy a super advanced block, and I would call it super advanced because it has multiple class files. Now, the first thing I'm going to mention is that the easiest solution would be learning how to use mixins and then simply just make one method involving a mixin and then using it. Now, I will be showing one mixin later, not in this video, in a later video, and it's going to be for potions. But this would be the long process of how do I make a super advanced block if I do not want to use mixins, or maybe mixins are too complicated. Well, this would be more time consuming, more complicated, but we're going to spend a long time trying to make a piston. So the first thing, since this is going to take a really long time, let's first take a look at the basics. So let's call it this, the Magma Piston. And then just like normal, we're going to call this Magma Piston. And then this would normally just be called, not sticky piston, you're going to have to call this a piston block. And then it's going to say Boolean, meaning true or false, and in this is saying sticky. So is it true or is sticky true or false? So I wouldn't just say true, like this. You could, well, actually no, that's how you would do it. Sticky being sticky. I wonder, can I write sticky? No. You would say true. Okay, yeah. I was going a completely different direction with that one. So true simply means yes, this is going to be a sticky piston, and false would mean no, this is going to be a regular piston. So let's say that it's going to be true, for example, and let's copy, let's say XP block just to copy something else. And then let's simply just load the world and see what the basics of a piston block looks like, because it's going to be a little bit strange and we're going to need to know what exactly it is that we are looking at. All right, here we are in our beautiful Minecraft world. Let's kind of slash clear. So we have a completely brand new inventory, and if we go into our mod blocks, the very last one is going to be the piston we added, and then let's add in a redstone block. This way we can see all of the magic that is going to be going on here. So first things first, it has no block texture, and because I faced it this way, the piston will be coming here and then taking away. So let's also grab in our cells. Let's grab in a random block. So let's get some light blue concrete. And then this will work just like a sticky piston. So you saw for a second, it moved, it looks like a sticky piston, and then it broke. But if I break it, it'll pull the piston back. So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. It does seem to work just like a sticky piston in its very basic form. We could retexture this as much as we want. You can see actually how there's a line here, and that is saying because if we were to texture it, or if we wanted to texture it, this is the voxel, meaning the breaking point. So if I broke this would break the floor, and we don't want to break the floor. We want to break the block if we were to break it. So this is the piston at its finest shape. Obviously, if it's back here, it will not be able to reach it. And then over here, pistons are really interesting because you can make it not hold anything. And then you can have it push and pull. And then if you do it instantly within the same tick, it'll do that. That's just how pistons work. So now we've officially made a piston, but we need to, it seems that we need to do a little bit more, because first, that block should not be breaking, but we do know it's calling for a sticky piston because we said sticky true. So let's go back into the code and take a look at a couple things. So the first thing that I would normally recommend is opening up your blocks file, and then let's just search up piston. And if I come all the way up, we have a couple of pistons here. So we have sticky piston, which is basically what we're copying, in which it is the create piston block, and the piston block equals true. And so then we have a regular piston, which is going to be the piston create piston block, and then it's false. So we are going to, without these basic files, we are going to have to basically recreate a piston from scratch. And we can get our references by, first off, there is a piston head, and then there is an extension block. So these are the things that we are actually going to have to copy. And then if we continue by looking, there is a special registry at the bottom here that says it's going to extend from piston block, and then from the piston block. So we're going to need a mod piston block in general as well. So let's copy those things. But we are not going to be copying, so because we're making it from scratch, we are not going to be copying sticky piston or piston because those are the results of piston block. So we are going to need to make a custom head, a custom moving piston, like an extension block. And so that's where we're going to start. So let's start by copying the piston head, Control C, and then we're going to Control V. So this is our piston head. And then we're going to have to change a couple things in here. So this is what we call the register block. And then instead of piston head, this is going to be, let's just call this mod piston head. And then over here we can call this mod piston head. And then from this piston head block, well, we're going to need to make a new one. So let's just write mod piston head block and then leave it as it is. And then also for the back here, let's do a comma and then do the mod item group dot mod blocks. So now we have a piston head in block, and then we're also going to have to make the other one. So let's triple click, Control C, and then down here, let's Control V, and then let's change this to the register block. And then this is going to be the mod moving piston. And then this is going to be the mod moving piston. And this is going to extend mod piston extension block. And we have not made this yet. So let's take from dot strength and let's change this. And right here where it says blocks underscore never, this is because it's taking from the actual Minecraft blocks facts. Minecraft blocks, and I believe those are set to private, because ours are set to private too. So see how our never is private? So because it's private, it means we can't take it from their class. So we've already copied it into ours. So to easily fix this, we're just going to simply call it for our mod blocks class. So mod blocks equals never, and then it's going to take this one at the bottom, but still that will fix those problems. So we're going to change those. Mod blocks never, and then for the second to last one, let's do the mod item group dot mod blocks. So now that is fine. We're also going to need to add in the register. So let's go back down to where it gets added, and it's got this special piston block. So we're going to Control C, and we're going to put this. We'll put it here. I don't think it really matters. So automatically we have this thing that's underlined. So we're going to do mod blocks never. And so that's perfectly fine. And then here where it says sticky, let's just turn this to Magma. And then change this to Magma as well. You don't have to do that. I'm just going to do that because that's what we're making. We're going to be making a Magma piston block per se. And then, so that is the basics, but we still have some, it looks like that we're going to have to make some new files. So we have made in our block custom, we have color, crop, and then these three that possibly don't fit in any of those selections. But we're going to make a new one, new package, and we're going to call this Piston. And this is where we are going to put in all of our classes. So for this, we're going to need to also add a mod piston block, which doesn't exist. And so it's going to have to make a new mod piston block. And then that's also going to cause that issue. So, and then right here, we got this. So we're going to call this as mod piston block as well. And that is also going to cause a problem. That is perfectly fine because we are going to have to make these new files. So let's start with the most basic one. Let's start with this one because it's what's being registered. So let's add one called mod piston block, right? And then we're going to let's look at what a piston block is. I like to actually I do this extends piston block, and then I simply click into it, and then it says extends facing block. But since I need to look into it anyways, we're going to have to go all the way down to the bottom, and then we're going to come all the way back up to the top. All the way down to extends, Control C, and then we are going to go back and Control V. So we're no longer going to have that extends piston block. It is now going to be the same as the other one, in which mod piston block is going to be extending mod facing block. First thing that we've always been changing is that this one right here, mod piston block, is like that. And then, like I said, I wanted to change this one to Magma. Uh, I probably don't have to like do this, but I'm just being extreme. Magma, and then this one, Magma. Another way you could probably look this up, here's some problems. So first off, piston block is probably going to get called a couple times. So let's Control F while we're focusing on this. We'll go in here and piston block, and here you can see it comes up 21 times. Another way you can tell is because see how it says piston block entity, piston type, piston behavior, piston handler. Those are all things that are some from dot piston. So we're going to have to make probably most of these, if not all of them, which that is why this video is going to be super long. So let's first go down, and let's read anything that has to do with the piston block. So right now there is calling for a piston block entity, and so we are going to have to make a mod piston block entity. So that is in red, and then we're going to do mod piston block entity. And so we are going to go through these one at a time. Mod piston block entity. And so when there's a and then there's going to be a bunch of errors. When it comes down to this, let's see, let's call this mod, and then let's capitalize this. So these little ones are basically your variables, and your variables need to be used in certain places. I would recommend changing them, but you don't have to. The ones that you are going to need to change are the ones that start with a capital letter, the ones that are a lowercase letter after the uppercase. Like the little one, you don't have to. You could leave it as piston block, but I'm going to just kind of just go through it carefully, and we're going to take on this would be a mod piston block entity, and then this would be the piston block entity, which we do not have yet. So then we got mod piston block entity. This is the thing, and then here we have mod piston block entity, and then there is all that. Sometimes things get along. Here we have blocks.moving piston. So here we would have to call for mod blocks dot mod moving piston. So that is something that we're going to have to change. Going down, so we're still looking for anything piston related. So we're going through, and then here we have this one is going to be the Magma piston block entity. So this one is going to be mod piston block entity, and then this one's going to be the same thing, mod piston block entity, which we haven't made that class yet. Perfectly fine. Mod piston block entity, and then this one is the little one, so we'll call mod piston block entity. This is a method, mod piston block entity. Same thing up here. So is of, and then this one we're going to do mod blocks dot mod moving piston. And then it's got the block entity stuff. But then when we start instance of, this is where we're going to change this to mod, mod piston block entity, and then this is the method. So this one, we can change all the method ones. We cannot change all of the classes, especially ones that we haven't created yet. But we are going to type them in because the thing is, if you type them in now, you won't have to do it later, but it will actually give you a reference of questionably how done or not done you are. Mod piston block is movable, and then we have piston behavior, and for right now, I'm gonna keep piston behavior as normal, and then we're just gonna leave that be. When it comes down to block state is of piston, block state is of sticky piston, we're going to also leave that be as well for now. Yeah. Blocks contact, game event piston contact is movable. Now this is where stuff kind of, quotes, gets real. So if the state is of this, return basically false and true. So is movable. If the block is obsidian, if the block is crying obsidian, respawn anchor, reinforced deep slate. I think there's actually one more that we can add to this. Obsidian, crying, respawn, reinforced. We can actually set one more to this, and I'm going to do that. So in between these two parentheses here, let's add a space, two of these. I forgot what they're called. Basically, the straight lines. Those are not L's. And we're going to do state.is of, and then we're going to use the little parentheses, blocks, blocks dot, and then we are going to write the end portal frame. This is a block that you cannot move, but we're going to make it so that we remove it. So right now it says if it is of these blocks, is movable is returned false. So let's say that this is now true. So now our piston, this magma piston that we are making, will be able to move all of these. It says that it will also be able to move state is of piston, state is of sticky piston. So we're also going to want to say that this is also going to be state.is of block, and then we're going to do mod blocks dot, and then we would want to put in our piston, which this we're just going to write as magma piston. So the magma piston does still exist, so if it is of magma piston, we are also going to extend that as well. So, piston behavior, we're going to leave piston behavior alone because I think so we're changing not the behaviors, we're copying a lot of things, but I think it can copy it without causing any problems. So we're just going to keep that the same. Move piston handler. I probably shouldn't call this piston block anymore. I should just call piston because, yeah, we are going to need to make a mod piston handler because it's not called a piston block. Let's just double check at the top. Piston block, piston, and then we're just going to kind of go through. Yeah, I would have missed piston handler. We're going to have to make a new mod piston handler block as well. So let's kind of go over and make sure that we did not miss anything. Piston face. I mean, if you want to, this is a method, so you don't have to change this. So we'll keep it the way it is actually. Sound effects, piston, piston, block, piston, piston, blocks dot moving piston, mod blocks dot mod moving piston with piston extension block, piston. So we're gonna have to. Oh wait, piston extension block. You know what that's about to turn into? A mod piston extension block, which is going to be a mod piston extension block. This dot. This is going to be the magma, and then piston type sticky or is default. We'll keep that sticky because technically that is still talking about sticky pistons, which do actually still exist. So mod piston extension block, which we haven't made. Correct entity piston. So there's all this mod moving piston. Yep, mod moving piston is of mod piston block. The reason I'm going through this very carefully is because you generally only get to do this like I don't want to say you don't want to do this once. You have to if you miss one, you're going to have to do this again and again and again until you get it correct and that until you've just gotten it all. And sometimes it does take a little bit. We're almost done with this one class though. Mod piston handler, mod, and then we'll call it piston handler. And then here, we can call this for mod piston handler, new, and then we'll do mod piston handler. And then we're going to call this the mod piston handler little variable basically. And then down here, mod piston handler, get broken blocks, mod piston block. This one actually exists. Mod blocks dot mod moving piston entity mod moving extension block, which doesn't exist yet. Piston type. We are going to make a new. We are going to have to make a new piston type. So mod piston type, and then here let's make the variable name, and then this would be this dot magma piston type, which is going to be mod piston type. Sticky would be like the default, and then here we would have mod piston type default. Mod blocks, this would be the piston head. So here we would do mod blocks, and then this would be the mod piston head. It's the first time I remember seeing the head for this. And then with mod piston head with mod piston head block, which we haven't made yet, with mod piston head block, and then this would be the variable, so mod piston type. And then reading this one, blocks is going to be mod blocks dot, and this would be mod moving piston with mod piston extension block with mod piston extension block this dot magma piston type, which is what we're going to be making. So we're going to need a mod piston type equals sticky for now. Mod piston type, which is equal to default. So we don't have that class, so it's going to give us a little error. Here we're going to have a mod piston extension block, create the entity piston, and then here we're going to have mod blocks, mod piston head, and now this class is done. So there are 31 errors, and most of them are going to say, hey, cannot resolve symbol in piston handler, block entity, extension block, and that's because we haven't made these yet. So let's start, I guess, with the top. So for mod piston handler, let us make a new Java class, and so we're going to have to call this, and we're going to call mod piston handler, and then we're going to do extends, and then let's call it the piston piston handler, and then we are going to access piston handler, and whatever it extends or has, it doesn't extend anything, this one, so we're going to completely exit out, and then we are going to come up, and then we are going to Control C, and then in our piston handler, we're going to actually ignore all of that, and then we're going to do the same thing. Start at the top. So first thing you want to do is rename this to mod piston handler, and then it's going to see OK. And here, so far, it only has a couple issues. So this is copying piston block, piston behavior, which we're leaving alone, and piston handler. So we need to basically, in this, we have mod piston block, and we have mod piston handler. Since we're not dealing with behavior, this block should be able to be completed in one go. So we can easily do that by looking at piston. These ones should end up being gray and should be replaced by basically the net, it should have mine on it. So first thing that we're doing, so we have piston direction. I'm actually just going to leave that one alone. Let's take a look at, we're not changing anything in the code here. So let's do mod piston block is movable, piston direction is block state, get piston behavior. And like I said, we're going to be leaving that one alone. Piston handler, so let's do mod piston handler. Boop. And then it's got is sticky, that's perfectly fine. So there's the sticky. Adjacent, stuck, honey block, slime block. If you wanted to do this stuff where it says, basically slime blocks and honey blocks don't get stuck, how they slide past each other, you can actually add ones to this. But that would be, I would say for another time, but this is generally the only thing that we're going to be talking about this. This is also going to probably be a really long video. So just kind of go through where everything says piston. Everything important though, like I said, important is the classes. The classes are the ones that start with that capital letter. So mod piston, and then make sure that it is, so this is extension block. Obviously don't change it to the handler. Like I wouldn't change this handler to mod piston block. Make sure you're doing every single one to the correct, and then just kind of skim read it just a little bit, because like sometimes like blocks dot is of, I mean, I'm just paying attention because I can read this just fine. So I know what generally everything is doing. Because well, I've done this before. The thing about this is, even if you didn't know what everything was doing, like if I tried to like just like read this right off the bat, this is well, what is K? I have no idea what K is, but I mean I know what the method is. But if I said mod piston handler, so I just gotta know that right now what I'm doing is I'm copying. That has generally been what this tutorial has been generally all about. That's behavior. Leave this one alone. Has been all about copying. I do have a second series in mind and how we're going to continue this and redo this in 1.20, which is going to be interesting because it's going to be completely different, considering the fact that I'm curious if I just take out the handler. Yeah, see how it updated? If I just take these out, it should be fine. I believe if you close out of the class, actually, if I put them back, the two of them, and then if I just close out of the class and reopen the handler, it would say that these are gray now, meaning they're not being used anymore. So I could just backspace and then backspace, and that is perfectly fine. So the piston behavior, and then if I come into here, now it no longer has 31 issues, it now has 26. And then here, like I said earlier, piston block entity is not being used at all. We can take that out. Piston handler, we can take that one out. So we still need to do all these other ones. Let's now take a little peeky peek at our little code and say, hey, what's the next one we should be working on? So this one is mod piston block entity. So let's go in our piston, make a new Java class, and this one, we're going to call it exactly, and I mean exactly letter for letter, just like that. Piston block entity. And then we're just going to be cheeky about it. Piston block entity. Okay, and then we're going to say, hey, what's this extends block entity? Well, we're going to copy this whole thing here. Uh-oh. Normally when there's a problem in Minecraft code, you can't change it. Meaning I might have I might have to look at an older version, which might means this tutorial would be not outdated. That makes me worried. I can look at it. If it. Okay, let's Control C. Let us extend Control V. Let's try and take care of the whole class, and then if there's anything specific, I'll change it after. So mod piston extends the block entity. So this mod, so let's call this mod piston block entity, and then let's do the same thing with this one. Let's call it mod piston block entity. So then we're out, and then let's Control F. Let's take a look at piston for just about everything. So for the mod piston block entity, what makes it a piston block entity? The block entity type is a piston. That is what we're making. We are making a piston, although we're copying. I would believe that we are going to leave this alone because it is the basic. We're not completely writing it from scratch. We're leaving some basics of a piston, so we're just gonna leave that. We're just gonna leave that alone. Block state instance of, let's call this the mod piston block, and then this is going to be mod blocks dot, and then this would be the mod. Oh, wait. Okay, mod blocks. Okay, I copied it wrong. Remember how I said with the name, make sure they're all correct. That's what that was about. And then this one is going to be a mod with mod piston head block. And I don't think we have that class. Yeah, so it's going to be looking a little down about it. Equals short, blocks equals sticky piston, piston type is default. I believe actually we are making a piston, well, here with mod piston head block, which we don't have yet. Type pushed is sticky piston, piston type, and we are making a mod piston type sticky, piston type, which is going to turn into mod piston type default with piston head block, which is going to be mod piston head block, which is a class that we do not have yet. And then here we have mod piston block facing. Coming back down, push entities. So right here, the static push entities world, we're going to have to call mod piston block entity. And then from here, mod piston block entity, offset block entity. It's fine. List empty entity piston behavior ignore, and we're going to ignore that too. So now we got mod piston block entity offset block entity. This would be mod piston block entity. Mod piston block entity, move entity. Mod piston block entity push. So when it comes down to things like this, where it's got the block entity, and it is right now it's basically broken. I would assume that this is generally over like one or two things. Either something isn't made yet, and it needs to be fixed later, or like see how like push entities is gray because it is not being used, but is being, quotes called somewhere, not really yet, but that would also be fixed. So like when these are gray, they should all eventually end up being yellow, being called somewhere. And they can only be called by us using them. So right now, if we go in the block entity class, this does exist in piston entity, but if I call for the mod piston block entity, it might turn it yellow. But beyond that, let's just kind of keep going. Mod piston block entity, the off stand, and then block entity list. Mod piston block entity can move, and then that one was gray, but then it grabbed this one, so now this one is yellow because it is now being used. So it's generally things like that. mod piston block entity. That was, but now it's being used, so it is good. Honey block. Okay, this one is going to be the mod piston block entity, and suddenly progress and facing started getting used, so that is pretty good. Push. So this would take for mod piston block entity, mod piston block entity, and this one would be mod piston block entity, move entity. So you'll notice that as you start fixing issues, so like now we're right down here, and is that, I'm trying to look for it. There was something that wasn't working, and it's working now, the block entity. So it wasn't working, but remember when I did that, like the one that like changed progress and stuff, it is now working. So as you start hammering down and you're going through everything, um, you are, you are fixing it, so it starts to get better, and that is a pretty good sign that everything is being copied correctly. So we lastly started with this one, mod piston block entity, can move entity, get piston behavior, and we leave piston behavior alone. The behavior and the block entity itself, sort of, although we're making a custom block entity, the behavior and how it acts, we still want it to act like a piston, and that's why we're leaving the piston behavior alone, because we still want it to do the same things as a piston, generally, while also changing one or two things in the actual block entity itself, which is why we have to make a new block entity, because we're making a new piston. But since the piston behavior is fine, and it would be copying something that is the same, you could call it as long as it's not going to cause any issues. I'm not really too sure a better way to describe that, but normally, these are just kind of things you kind of learn when you're just copy casing. And like I said, copy casing is, oh, I think this is the one that like, it was this one or this, I think it was this one. But copy casing like this, not only does it take forever, but it is, I don't want to say bad. It is really bad where, like, from a coding perspective, mod blocks, mod moving piston, because this is a lot more difficult than doing something as simple as make a piston block entity, make a mixin. That fixed a lot of things. If you made it mixin, but mixins are they're pretty complex. If there are no, if you don't know how to do everything, sometimes you have to work with littler things, and this is a smaller, or this is a simpler way to do it, but it is a lot, and I mean a lot more time consuming to do it in this manner. But I'm still going to show you simply because of its simplicity. You could basically, by doing this, if you made a registry for everything that existed in the game, and then you copy paste everything, you could make a brand new Minecraft from scratch. There is a lot better ways to do it than this. Oh, and then here's this. I'm going to see what this does. I'm going to see what the old version says, and then we're going to move on from that. If it is different, I'll actually just rewrite it for you guys. All right, so get collision shape. So it's talking about this instance of, and then this one is for mod piston block. This one is going to be mod piston block. And then piston, and then this would be mod blocks, and this would be the mod piston head with the mod piston head. Oop, I actually changed the wrong thing. Mod piston head block, which does not currently exist yet. Mod piston head block, which is under there. Extending this, pushed, perfect. Amount, save world, set world, and now we only have 8 issues, probably all relating to this. So let's first take a look at the top here. And then here we have these two are gone, the pistons at least. So piston behavior is the only thing that is going to stay. We do want to rewrap everything that is not piston. All right, so I looked in the previous version, and right here where it says registry entry lookup, we're going to, I don't know why it's saying registry wrapper implementation of a block if it's registry using the entry lookup. So we're going to actually get rid of these registry, or actually just the wrapper.implementation and just call registry entry lookup under block, and then that will literally just fix the code. I don't know why it changed in the newer version. I think that was something that was done by accident, but hey, registry entry lookup for the block of registry entry lookup, and that should fix that. So we still have 7 issues, and now our main focus is no longer piston block. It is now going to be this one, and this is so that we keep our notes together. So let's say we want to fix this block, and let's get rid of the registry wrapper here. So now let's look at our 7 issues, and the first thing is saying, hey, we are missing, mainly we're just looking at the reds, and it looks like this one's going to need 2 more classes, mod piston head block and mod piston type. So this one isn't the worst 2 in the world considering the other one and the amount of stuff that we're making. So keeping that, actually, let's keep that in mind, our problems. So yeah, let's make a new Java class, and let's call this mod piston head block. And we'll hit this, and then we're going to extends, I want that down, extends, and then we're going to write piston head block. We're going to take a little peek into it, and this extends facing block. So we are just going to select the whole thing all the way up to where it says extends face. I don't know why it's lagging. There we go, it's fine. Extends facing block, Control C, and then we're just going to Control V, and then start at the top, and we have all this. So let's go to the first thing that you're wanting to do down here, and then we're going to call mod piston head block. And then suddenly there's only one problem. So let's Control F for piston, and then there is the piston type is something that is being called, and so we're going to need to call a mod piston type equals properties piston type. This is probably going to end up being called mod piston type at some point. We'll see, because I think that's going to be the next one that we make. That's perfectly fine. So the next thing that looks like we're going to be making is going to be a mod piston head block. Get the head shapes. Then this is going to be mod piston head block. And then this is also going to get the head shape, so we got a true and a false. And then we have a mod piston head block, get head shape. And then suddenly, most of the stuff should be good. It's got one problem. Here we're going to make a mod piston type, and that is a class that we have not made yet. As transparency, this, that, this, that, and the other thing. Block state, piston state. Block get type, and then here we are making a mod piston type. Oh, not block, type, and we just don't have the class yet. Blocks.piston, blocks.sticky piston. Piston is block of piston state. Get the this is going to be mod piston block dot extended false, and piston state is facing, head state facing, on break, placed, all this, that, and the other thing. Going down, can place at, block state is of, and then we're going to do mod blocks dot mod moving piston, and then neighbor your update, and then pit get type, and this is going to do with your mod piston type, which doesn't exist yet. Rotate facing, mirror facing, and now we still have 7 issues, but now we can more easily see it. If we hit this, it's going to say, hey, you're going to need to make a mod piston type, and so we can easily do that. Let's open up our little thing, and you know exactly what we're doing. New Java class, mod piston type, and this is going to extend extends, and then we'll do a piston ty. So right now, this one doesn't look like it's extending. And that is because it is probably not a class. And when that starts happening, let's just look it up in here. Let's look up piston, and then let's look up ty piston type, include non-project files, and then right here it's got a little e because it turns out it is going to be an enum. So here, hey, that's not what I asked you to click on. Piston type. There we go. So now we have these. So it is a public past the enum class. So let's take the piston type class and we're going to delete it now that we know it's an enum. And let's make a new Java class. Make sure it is an enum, and then let's make a mod piston type. Now, every time it said type equals piston or sticky piston, I literally just left it the same. I'm going to need to go back to the piston type. So let's, this one implements string identifiable, so we're going to control C. And then in here, mod piston type, let's control V. And then all of a sudden it's saying, hey, there's some problem. That is okay. Let's take this, call it mod piston type. And then suddenly everything is fine in here. And now that everything is fine in here, let's go back. For some reason, I didn't think we were going to make new properties. So we're going to have to make mod properties, and then it is going to have our piston type. So let us simply make, you guessed it, new, let's say Java class for now. And then let's say mod properties. And then actually what I will, I don't want to say extends properties. Let's change this back to just regular properties and then hit OK. And then here, okay, so this has all the stuff that we are basically going to need. So we have a public class called properties. And for now in our mod properties, we are just going to need one that is called, what is it? Piston type. So let's go in our properties and look for a piston type, really. We can just piston type. So from here, we can control C, and then let's go in our mod properties and control V, because that is what's being called. And in here, it is called piston type. So in this mod head block, so if I wanted to call this mod properties, if you want to do dot, if you want to call this mod piston type, you should be able to. And then, actually, I forgot almost. Let's call this for mod piston type. And it's got the enum property, and then this is going to be for mod piston type. So now that you got that, we can take this out. And now that this is being called by piston type, if we go in our head block, so now we have it as mod properties piston type. If you wanted to call this mod piston type, then in your mod properties, you're going to have to call this mod piston type. If you want it to just be called piston type, that is completely up to you. This is just one of those things where you have the power to call it whatever you want. I mean, you have a power to do already whatever you want, but for copying purposes, you don't have to change the name for that for it to still do its thing. But whatever boat makes your goat float in this case, I guess. So good. One related problem in the piston head block. This is probably going to be pointing to something else. Let's just double check and make sure. Everything mod piston type default with short false, and then if we look in our mod piston type, before I go there, make sure that there's nothing else. Okay, let's take a look at our mod piston type, and then making sure mod piston string identifiable default sticky string name. While we have this open, let's make one called Magma. Magma. And then in here, we are going to call it by the string, and we're going to call it Magma. Magma. And then put a little comma in here. And then we're probably going to have to use this Magma later. But for now, let's just continue on with all of this. Here it says that there is one relating issue, but then at the top it doesn't say that there's one relating issue. Let me mod piston head block, and then let's go back into the mod piston head block. Okay, I'm gonna assume that this is because it's stuff with other classes. Perfectly fine. So let's close out of this, and then it seems that that's fine. Block entity is fine. The only one that's causing problems is this mod piston head block. And remember, we were at 31, and then I think we were at 26 issues, and now we are at 7. Perfectly fine. And what's even better is that this is saying that all of our reds says that we cannot resolve symbol mod piston extension block. And here is everything in the extension block. So it's looking that right now all we have to do is make that mod piston extension block, and then we are all set with all the copy codes. So let us do exactly that. I like to have the problems up, that way I make sure for a fact that I do not mess up the name. So let's call this a mod piston extension block. Hit OK. And then we're going to extends piston extension block. And then we're going to be cheeky. We're going to click into it. And then it's got block with entity. So let's go all the way down to the bottom. This class actually isn't even that big either. So all the way up to extends, Control C. We can close out of that, and then we can just Control V. Start at the very top. Piston block, block with entity. We're just going to first things first, mod piston extension block. And then it says, hey, there's a bunch of issues. Let's Control F and look at all the pistons. So here we have the piston head block. So let's do mod piston head block. This says the enum property of piston type, which is now going to be mod piston type, and this is going to be for your mod piston head block. And suddenly that is fine. We got the settings, and then all the way down here we have type, and then here we're going to need mod piston type equals the default. Create block entity, null, create, that's perfectly fine, equals a new, and then we're going to call for mod piston block entity, block get ticker. This causes me a lot of problems sometimes, but as long as our return is fine, let's call for a mod piston extension block, check type, block entity type equals piston, and then here we're going to do mod block entity type tick. And then this bothers me all in the world. We're gonna have to make a mod. It's not the worst thing in the world. And then we're gonna call this mod piston. This is something that we are gonna have to do. I forgot this existed. This is always a huge pain in my butt. Let's take care of this at the end. So let's continue with the class file. Oh, I can't believe that was there. Oh, man. And I thought we were almost done. Block entity instance of mod piston block entity. And then this is going to be the mod piston block entity. Here we're saying instance of, this would be mod piston block. You'll notice that in this class, I'm calling everything by its full name, and you'll notice that the more classes you get done, and it's just easier to just call the names, the easier it is to just simply just go through them, because out of everything to do that there is to do, we basically did it. We've copied most of the files when it's basically simple to go easy. There's less problems every time we make a new file or copy case something. So that's how you know you're basically running in at the end. All right, so now we have one problem, and that problem is going to be the fact of these mod type entity. Now, this has nothing to do with the piston, and what we are going to do is we are going to I don't like how that is all the way there. we're going to go in our main package folder, and we are going to make a new package, and we're going to call this entity. And there are main entity types. There's block entities, which is what we would normally put this under. But let's just, because this is the only thing in the folder, I guess, let's go in a new Java class, and let's call for mod block entities, like that. And here we have our entities, and this is where we are basically able to call everything. So the first thing I want to work on is the register. So let's do public static, and then this would be void. And then in here, we are going to want to register all block entities. And so normally, every time you copy case something to this extreme, if it's got that tick in it, you're going to have to make a brand new registry for it, which is why it's really annoying. So first at the top, let's just make a no public static, and then this would be your block entity type. And then inside of your type, you're going to have to do one of these types of brackets. And then you're going to need to make, let's say, mod piston block entity, because we basically made that. And I should have noticed it as soon as I saw the word block entity. I should have realized it right away that it was going to have that tick method. Anyways, that, I mean, for telling you in an example, that's when you should recognize it. I didn't recognize it. Anyways, let's call this for mod piston, because that is what we are making, and then you could put a little thing. All right, a little semicolon. So now let's call for mod piston and then register it the way it needs. So mod piston equals, this would be the registry with the t dot register, and then inside of that you're going to need to do registries plural. There it is, registries. I was getting worried there. And then we're going to do block entity type, and then we're going to do comma new identifier, and then let's get out of the way. Identifier, and then we're going to do the hmh3 dot mod id, and then on the actually on the inside, so let's just do comma, and then let's call this for a path, let's call it piston. I think that's how it's spelled. And then on the outside, so in between your two parentheses, and just the first one, let's do a comma, and then we can just enter it from here. This is going to be the fabric block entity type builder. And then you're going to do dot create, and inside of create, we can do our mod piston block entity, and then this is going to do we're going to look for new, so make sure you use your two colons, comma, mod blocks, dot, and then this would be mod moving piston, dot, oh wait, on the outside, dot build, and then you're going to need a something inside that build. Let's just actually, is it going to tell me to? It doesn't tell me to. Let's just write null in here, because that is just going to be the type for this example. So right now we're making a mod piston, but if we were to make more mod pistons, I think that's why the type would be considered null. Let's go into where it is being called. And then from here we would call this mod block entities dot mod piston, and so now we have our special mod entities for everything that possibly gets registered after this. So back into our piston block, it still says, hey, there are some issues. Let's try and review what they are, and see if we can figure out what's going on. And already I can tell right away what's going on. So it says 3 problems, and I know something that has 3 problems. In our mod blocks, we made all these classes now before this was really registered. So we're going to have to import the class, and then all of a sudden these are fine. So now that these classes exist, but we made them before we made them exist, we just have to import all those classes, and now everything in these are generally fine. Here in mod moving piston, it says that there is a problem. Oh, right here. Mod piston dot type this dot magna, and then here where it says piston type, we're going to do mod piston type. So out of that whole thing, I forgot these two. Mod piston type default, and suddenly those are now working, and now it says that everything is fixed. So that is pretty good. That is pretty good. Um, Let us now we can actually close out of all of these and congratulate yourself for first making it through all just the code. We still have to do all the textures, which isn't that bad. But I mean, just making it through all of these files, I just want to say congratulations. This has been one heck of a video already. So now let's go in our mod blocks, and now we have these two mod blocks that exist. We have our magma piston and is extending the piston block, but see how it's got that dot create piston block? Why don't we simply change this now? We can change this now to mod piston block, and now it's saying, is it magma? And then let's say if it is true, and it is basically doing the same thing, because if you remember in the first case, we copied this from piston anyways. So a couple things that I want to change in the code. Simplify. I don't know if that was good or not. All right, so I did copy the piston block. Let's just take this out for a moment. And then let's call for mod blocks. Mod blocks dot, and then we want to do create the piston block. From here, we'll call it the, we'll say true. And then here we are, this is when we can do the mod item group dot mod blocks, put a little thing at the end. And then I think actually this is supposed to, the true is supposed to be in there. And then you can put a little comma at the end. Yeah, I messed that up too. But, and then inside of our, let's go in our actual piston block. And then there is the piston, let's look up piston type dot sticky. Because we're going to change a lot of the stickies. So we're going to change this to Magma. And we're not going to change all of them to Magma, though. There's another instance. So let's call this one for Magma. And then piston type. Oh, I guess we are. Magma. Perfectly fine. Okay, so that is that. Let's just go through all of them, though. Piston type equals sticky, going through. And then outside of here, we can just write the magma. All right, extension block, control F sticky. There's none in the handler. There is none. The head block, there is one. Just write mod piston type magma. Mod, we could do, no, we'll keep that sticky piston and then regular piston. And then now that the piston type, we're going to now call this for the mod blocks. And then this is going to be for the, yeah, we can just write over it. It should be, not gluey, magma piston. All right. Inside of piston type, we have already added the type being magma, which is where we're actually calling it from. And then the block type, that should be perfectly fine. So basically the handler or the head block, I think that was what was causing the problem. Maybe if it was the get pick stack, I don't know. Let me take a look at it one more time in here. All right, and now that we are in creative, let's go on an island far away so that if this uh-oh, it crashed. So in our mod piston block entity, we changed the block entity type. So let's control C and make sure that the instances of this is going to be the mod block entities. And then we're going to have to make sure that these are both mod piston and that there should be, oh, okay. There's the block entity type. That was what caused that crash. So make sure that the mod piston block entity is for mod block entities, mod piston. All right, inside of this burned down woodland mansion, I wonder how that happened a long time ago. We're just going to go inside and we're going to look up some redstone. We're going to get ourselves a block, and then every time this doesn't work per se, or does something unintentional, that's probably going to crash. Ouch. And then it should tell me null pointer exception, block entity type. Entity type is null. All right, I think what it's talking about was when I said mod block entities and I said that, oh, this isn't even being registered. I'm so silly. Let us go. Now that, I mean, that's a good sign because it means it's registering our entities. So let's go in here and then let's do the mod block entities dot register all block entities. That was that crash. This is going to take a little bit. A lot of this is, I wouldn't say a trial and error. This is more of try and make it work. You're going to have to try and know how to read these little errors that are coming up. That's what's telling me. Like, it's telling me what the class problem is, and then I have to, with experience, figure out, all right, what have I done wrong? What am I doing wrong? This was a very good example of telling me that it is now working, because before it didn't crash, but now it is crashing. So now it pulls and retracts. And actually, what I really like about this is how the thing doesn't give out the sticky piston. It is letting out a thing, but it just doesn't know the texture. Let us take some more cobblestone, and it does bring out the cobblestone. And hopefully we can get that breaking animation to stop. Can I still place? Yeah, that's not a... Very interesting. But that does tell me that something else is doing really good with the fact that it's got that missing texture. And my thing is that it still isn't what it is. So first, let's take a look at what could that possibly be. So let's grab a sticky piston. Let's fully extend it. And then let's take a look at the both blocks. We can do this with our F3 screen, and here we can target it. It says it is the HMH3 Magma piston. It is extended as true, facing south. And then what do we have here? It's the sticky piston, extended true, facing south. Now this is mineable by pickaxe. We don't really need to know that, but so that is perfectly fine. But then what are we missing? What is that block called? If we just take this, it's called Minecraft piston head facing south short. So there is basically that, and the type is sticky. So what we need is our mod piston head to be it needs to extend our mod piston head. So it's either going to be our actual sticky piston, or it is the mod piston head block that is the problem. One of them is making it so that it is not displaying the piston head, and that is dare I say, troublesome. It is functioning. My thing is that it's not sticking. And I would know because if I can jump on it, see how it is, like I can stand on it, but here I can still go through it. That's how I know that even if it's not textured, that it is still not entirely working. All right, inside of your on-synced blocked event, we're going to scroll down to where it says where it says is of modding. moving piston. And then inside of, we're going to skip this method and into the, not the BL2, which is the type of block. We're going to go into the mod moving block is movable, and we're going to scroll down this line until we hit normal, piston, sticky piston. And outside of the first one, we are going to space, put in the two things, and we're going to say block state 2 dot is of, and then we're going to do blocks, uh, mod blocks dot, and then we're going to do magma piston. So adding this should help display the thing. So if there's any other things, I'm gonna keep looking through them. So let's try and go over any things that I may have missed or any other notes, and then we're gonna reload the world after we get over through those. I should have also mentioned, I'm still talking about the mod piston block. Another thing, in our move, when it is talking about retract world.get block state is of, we are going to want to say this is going to be mod blocks, and then this is going to be the mod piston head. That is something that I had missed. Moving on to the next one in mod piston block entity. When we are talking about get head block state, this is probably exactly what is making it not, if this, not this, is extending and this is the source instance of the mod piston block. It's saying if this is of the sticky piston, and that is not true because we are making a mod. We wanted to extend mod, and this is going to be the magma piston. So that to me makes sense why it would not extend, because it's trying to extend the wrong block, and then it luckily for us it's just breaking and then not placing anything rather than just crashing. Crashing is always really bad, but I think that is the main reason in the block entity to get blockhead state why it would just kind of crash and not do that. Inside of our mod piston head block, when it says is attached, you're gonna want to take your the mod piston blocks piston, or and then you would want to call this for mod blocks, and then you want to call this the magma piston. All right, and then mainly those two things, the is attached would make sense that not only is it attached, but also making sure that the extending block is the magma piston and not the sticky piston would also help. So in these two instances, I would assume that if I extend it, the entire piston will it'll like kind of flash for a little bit where it'll turn off and then turn back on, but it should display. Okay, yeah, and it is. For some reason, I was expecting to see this shape, but in this texture. No, it's because I'm not really too sure how to describe it, but once we put in the textures, it will fill in the space. I'm assuming it's because like it doesn't have like the dot get cut out question mark. Questionable. But we now have a piston in which when we break it, it's going to extend those. I haven't very deeply looked into the details of the animation and how it gets put through. So what mine does is it'll turn off, and then it'll turn back on. It only does it when, well, right now it's only doing it when it's getting pulled back, but when it's going forward, it seems like it's going through. But at least for this, you can see how for the tick, it's not until it gets fully extended that then it places it and then it takes it away. So now the block is completed, and if we look inside in our F3 screen, it now says mod piston head facing south. I mean that's not really, and the type is magma. So now all we have to do from here, we have completed making a we have now made a mod piston block. So now let's take a look. Dear hope me, it is now we have to work on the textures. and everything else that goes with it. But all the hard-coded files are now done. So now we just have to rely on everything else. All right. Putting this to the side, we can actually close all of these too if we feel like it. Because now we are moving on. Let's start with the block states. So let's go into our data. What am I thinking? It's not in data. That's why assets, Minecraft, block states, and then let's look up the gluey piston for a not gluey. Oh, man, that's from my other mod. That's why I keep messing it up. Let's look for the sticky piston. Let's bring it into our here, and then let's look up magma piston. And inside of here, we're going to Control F. We're going to look up Minecraft, and then we're going to select all of the Minecraft instances and change it to HMH3. And we're going to want all of making sure that all the beginning is piston. Oh wait, we don't want it to just be piston. Let's Control F, and then let's copy everything that says sticky. Okay, hold on. Control. Let's not do all of Minecraft. Let's Control Z. Control Z. Okay, let's go over. Let's look up sticky, and we're gonna want all of these piston bases to still look like Minecraft piston bases, right? So we're only gonna change the sticky part and to be we're gonna call it the magma, and we're gonna put those magma parts in HMH3. So now we need to make a model called HMH3 block magma piston. So let's go down and then let's back it up. Minecraft, let's go in our models, block models, and then we can look up the sticky, or if I just do stick, and then here we got short piston head short sticky. We have piston head sticky, piston sticky piston, and then the inventory. So this actually compared to some previous things. Let's open it up because we need to put in specifically the blocks. Put it through here, and then we're going to oh, it seems like it's, yeah. So let's refactor, rename, and let's change this to piston head short magma. We're going to change this to refactor, rename, piston head magma. Short, refactor, rename. That one we already did. Refactor, rename, magma, piston, and then here for the inventory refactor, rename, this is going to be the magma piston. I actually like how they are actually next to each other. I think that's really nice. So going in them one at a time. So this is taking from the template piston. And so for the magma piston, we have the block template piston. So we have bottom, side, and platform. So we have Minecraft block piston bottom. Perfect. Here for platform part, we're going to do HMH3 block, and then we're going to have a piston top, and then here we're going to have to do magma. Yeah, magma. So that is going to be a texture that we're going to have to make for the piston in here. Is this for the inventory? It's crazy. All right, so here let's call piston top magma. And then this is, we'll leave that alone. So here we are not changing the side of the bottom, we're changing the top. Unsticky. Do I want to change that? I would say don't mark this unsticky because this is pointing to a parent and this is the type of block, and that is simply what it is called, is the unsticky variation. And the problem with changing the name is if you wanted to change the name of this, you're going to have to make a template in which you uncall the name of this. And considering it's unsticky, that's, I mean, come on, it's fine. So just change, if it's in the green, you can change that. Let me make sure that for Minecraft, yeah, I didn't change this. HMH3. Make sure that you put, okay, so platform, HMH3 top magma. In your inventory, HMH3 top magma. In your piston head, this is going to be platform. So for Minecraft, block, piston, top, and then, so magma. So it looks like so far we are only going to be making one texture. It's just going to be used in a couple different ways. Platform, Minecraft, which is going to be HMH3 piston top, and then we are going to call this magma. And make sure that I called, yeah, I saw it coming too. HMH3 block piston type magma, so that is pretty good. Did I do, so now all of them are in. Piston head short, piston head, cube bottom. I want to make sure that none of these template piston, I want to make sure that none of those said something specific about it being glowy. Um, since we actually had an inventory, if I look up the sticky in the item sticky piston and we bring the stop open it up, put it in the item. All right, and then we can call this the magma piston and say okay. All right, so and then we're gonna have to call this for magma because we already made an inventory one, so that tells me that we're gonna have to make an inventory block for the model at least. Parent HMH3, and then this is all there, perfectly fine, which is taken from the textures, in which the only texture that we're making is that top texture, perfectly fine. We have completed all the models, so let's add in the lang file. So let's control D and put a little comma in here, and then let's call this the magma piston, and then we're just gonna delete it, all that. Call for magma piston. Beautiful. So now that is all done. From here, we're going to work on the textures, but we're going to do that in a moment. Let's try and get all of our data in first. So let's go Minecraft, assets, back into data. So the first thing, let's work on loot tables we don't have to do. Let's go back in the code, and let's go for data generator, loot table generator. And then let's control D and call for magma piston. So when we break it, it will automatically drop itself. So now we don't have to make the loot table. However, for recipes, let's go into recipes and then let's look up the sticky for specifically stick from bamboo, warped, sticky piston. So recipes. And here we're going to call this the magma piston. And then from here, piston, Minecraft slime ball, which here this is going to be magma cream. And then we're going to get HMH3 magma piston. Beautiful. Category redstone. We'll keep that there. Every time you make a recipe, I would suggest making a magma advancement for it. Magma piston. So when we get Minecraft magma cream, or we get Minecraft piston, we will unlock the HMH3 magma piston recipe. Control C, Control V. So now we have all of our advancements, loot tables, recipes, and all we have to do is work on the tags. So Minecraft, tags, blocks, mineable, and then in our pickaxe, Let's take a look and let's look up Piston. So actually, it seems that they actually put it in here as Piston. So let's just copy the Minecraft one right up here. We're gonna go all the way to the top, and then let's just add it here at the bottom, and then we're going to call it the HMH3 Magma Piston. I'm actually surprised they didn't have a tag, despite it being two things of just like I expected to tag Minecraft Pistons because they put everything in JSON file tags. It's almost annoying, but they we're just going to put it at the bottom here, and it is good. So last thing that we need to do is work on the textures. So let's go back to Assets, Minecraft, Textures. I'm assuming it would be in block. And then let's look up the sticky, and then it was called the sticky piston top. So let's make the texture. All right, here it is, me, your fancy editor. And boy, was this a long one to edit. I am like 2 days behind on the video schedule if I was to post one every day. I think for this advanced schedule, things are going to be a little bit off key here and there. And then there might be two videos coming out Saturday and then two on Sunday. I honestly don't know what's going on, but we will get through it. This video took 3 hours to record, and then it took me another like 4 hours to edit because I have to stop, and then I have to like go back in, and then does it sound decently okay, and then you know cut out some parts, and then realize that I didn't need them, and then like I don't know. This isn't about the editing process. I have done this a couple times before. So like I said, I made the gluey piston, and then like when I made the gluey piston for the first time, that was like that was like a big thing for me. But there's a lot of things that are like even more cool than this. One of the things that I'm working on currently is I'm trying to make a mod bell. Now, it's not for the tutorial series. It's for my actual I have a server, and I want to make it so that when the bell rings, players that are nearby that, quotes, hear the bell will get a status effect. Because if you know anything about me, I will try and apply a status effect to everything that exists. It's just what I like to do. The texture for this didn't come out as I expected. I was hoping it would look a little bit nicer, but I mean, I'm not really gonna complain too much about it. I thought about how I could have done it better, but I already made it. It's already done, and so that's gonna be that. If you have any troubles with this tutorial, like following through with it, I personally wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't try something like this until you kind of just make everything else and you're like kind of read the files. If you just read the files one at a time, mainly what you're really copying when you're looking at super advanced classes, the most important thing to copy are literally just the class names. So I was also doing method stuff, so for an example, I probably shouldn't have done that. But like you have to know one what you want, and then we talked about this when we had like the TNT block. We were talking about what kind of things not only do you want when you're making an advanced block, but what are you trying to also do. This thing also will push extra stuff. We will kind of get into what extra stuff does it pull. I already mentioned it once in the video earlier, but I'm going to mention it again at the end of the video as a, quotes. I kind of say this like a plus. It's just really pointing out what it's doing. There are some things like this though that do take forever. And then there are things that override Minecraft. I realized that I didn't have anything that kind of does that. That would basically be what would be overrunning Minecraft would simply be if I took, let's say for a block and I broke it, and or whether you break it or craft it. So like if I had sand, right? We're not even gonna talk about breaking it. We're talking about let's talk about regular. Um, I could make it so that when you craft a composter, you are crafting not the Minecraft composter, but my composter. And then what do I do about the generating composters? I could personally make it so that when you go up to one of them, if you were to break it and then place it again, I could have the loot table of a regular composter instead of being a composter be my composter, and then I can add things to the composter. Now, if that sounds complicated, or why would you ask, why would you make a completely new composter instead of adding things to it? I'm used to registering things, and there is a registry quotes for it. It's not like an official one that I know of, but like that is more like mixing material where you just have like a list and you put it in and it's all good from there. But there is a lot more stuff that I have a whole second series that should be coming out where we're going to start from scratch, but we're going to do it from a completely different perspective. This entire first series is just about copying and learning the copy. The second one is mainly going to be talking about writing. I'm going to call it methodology because it's talking about each method, what do they need, what do you want, and stuff like that, and then we're going to get into it. When is the series coming out? I have no idea. I'll probably talk about it when I do the stream. I am supposed to stream tomorrow, but we're going to see how it works depending on how this video comes out. I have a video that's technically supposed to get around and also get squeezed in there, but based on how long this video is going to be, I don't know how long it's going to be processed and uploaded and those speeds and times. So we'll see how it is or how it goes. But beyond that, I mean that's going to be enough of this rant, and then we're going to get right back into the video. But if you at least, hopefully you enjoyed watching this, or at least the series. Most of this was, I don't want to say impractical because you're just copying stuff, but this is a lot of the easy stuff that people kind of get or is simple. But the thing is, it's repetitive. And when it's repetitive, that's the part that you pick up. And when we get into Minecraft methodology, if you watch the series first before you get into methodology, you're going to understand a lot of the basics in a sense of, oh, I think I know what we're doing, or I've seen that method before, and so that's exposure. But with that, we're going to end this little rant. We're going to get back into the video. Uh, Thank you guys for watching, but let's crack back into it and see how everything looks. All right. That is finally all done. This didn't come out how I expected it, but it's going to have to do for now. So let's run the data gen for the loot table, and then when that is completed, we can run the client and see how it looks. Oh, all right. So maybe it doesn't look as bad. So let's grab ourselves some redstone. I guess I technically didn't spell it wrong. Um, And then when we move it up, there is a problem. So when it sits, it's fine, and then when this comes on, it looks like it's going to need the mod piston head. So magma piston, mod piston head. Well, at least for now, this part is at least looking great. It does look entirely like a piston. So that is pretty good. So because the block is the magma piston, this is completely being textured correctly. But since this is called mod piston head, we're gonna need to make a block state for mod piston head, and we already made one for Magma Piston, which is why this side is being textured, while the other side isn't. When I have the block state off, it's mod Magma Piston, and then this is all the cobblestone, because the block isn't out, but we put it out here. It's the only occasion in which we have mod Piston. Since the piston does also move, we may as well also try and add the moving piston, even if it doesn't animate, just to make sure that everything is going well. But that would explain why because technically we didn't add a block state for this, so it doesn't know what textures to use, so it doesn't have textures. They're missing. Starting up back with the block states. So now we know that it was called so we call it mod piston head, but we're going to just need to call the piston. So we have the piston head here. And let's add this into copy this into our block states just as, oh, piston head. And then here we're going to want to refactor and rename and specifically call it the mod piston head. And inside of our mod piston head, remember how we made a new type? So for here, we have the type equals normal, the type equals sticky. So we're also going to need Control C and then paste it and then say, hey, there can't be two stickies. So we're going to have to say the type equals magma. And from here, we're going to need make a model in which we're going to call this HMH3 block. And then this is going to be piston head and then magma. And then we're going to have to add this for each one. Funny enough, we actually did add piston head magma when we added the blocks and looked up sticky. We just didn't know that that's what this was for. So I don't think we're going to need to make the models again, but we are going to need to make the block stage for this. So for this one, just kind of go type equals normal, type equals sticky, and then Control C, Control V, and then you're going to want to say type equals magma, and then change this to HMH3, and then that the type equals magma. There is no way to really quickly do this because it is always changing. Normal, sticky, so just kinda Control C. You're just gonna have to one at a time go through it. Now this isn't that bad, dare I say, magma, compared to if you find this intolerable, but you can make the 7 files that it is required, then I feel like you have bigger problems at that point. I have this kind of patience, so it doesn't bother me any. Type equals magma. Make sure it is HMH3. And then short, which this is going to be magma. Cool. Normal, sticky. Control C. Control V. And then we're going to call this magma. HMH3. Piston head. Magma. 1, 2. And then we're going to control sticky. Control C, Control V. And then this one is going to be equals magma. HMH3. And then head short, which technically we also made this one too. Magma. So it's nice to know that we did majority of the work already. Type equals magma. And then after this, we are going to need to do the extending block. Magma. And make sure that this Minecraft is HMH3. Short, sticky. Control C. Control V. Magma. Minecraft. This is going to be magma. And this Minecraft's going to be HMH3. Short, sticky. Control C. Control V. This is going to equal magma 4 HMH3. And then from here, we're going to have magma. And then facing up, well, normal, sticky, Control C, Control V. And then this is going to equal magma. And that this is going to equal magma. And that this is going to equal HMH3. Normal, sticky, up, look at that, we are almost done. 2 more, Control V, type equals magma for HMH3. And that this is going to be magma. And that this is going to Control C, Control V. And that this is going to be equaling magma for HMH3. And that this is going to equal magma. Awesome. And then if we want just to double check and make sure, so we have basically piston head short magma, piston head short sticky, and then here we have piston head short magma, piston head short sticky, and I am in the block models. So we already made those, so that should be perfectly fine. The other one, however, let's take a look. There should also be in here, let's look up the ext ending. No. Block states. Let's just look up piston. Moving piston. That's what I meant to say. So we have a piston, piston head, and so we just did the mod piston head and the regular sticky piston. So we're going to need to make not regular piston, moving piston. So let's bring this in at the top, moving piston, and we're going to call this mod moving piston. Hit OK, and this is going to refer to the model, and then here we're going to do HMH3, and then this is going to be the mod moving piston. So now this one looks like it's going to require a model block, and so moving piston, Minecraft, model block, and that we have one in here called moving piston, and this is the only one in here, so we're going to go in our block moving piston. Oh, well, mod moving piston. Hit OK, and then inside here we have textures, particle, Minecraft block piston side. So this one we're going to just leave alone. I think this is talking about the piston side is going to talk about the sides of the piston, so that little log that's basically shoved in there. So now that is all in there. If there is anything else, that should be everything. But yeah, that should be everything. So let's reload the world and see what it looks like now. Alright, so here we have the piston block. I'm going to hit enter, and there it goes. It is now extending, taken away, extending, taken away, taken, extending. So during the animation, it does flash and go away. I currently, I could probably figure out the animations now if I really looked into it. I am just looking for regular functionality. It does do this. Now, I do want to point out one more thing in the code. If we go into our block custom piston, I think it would be, if it's not piston block, let's look up, okay. So I said this is now true, and it was originally false, and that this it can move the pistons. So what these two statements do, you can change this however you feel. So if I have piston, and then let's get some obsidian, crying obsidian, reinforced deep slates, the end portal frame, and then there's one more, but I can't think about it, so I'm going to say that it is not important. So we have these things in here, and if I have a piston and a sticky piston, piston and magma piston, sticky piston and magma piston, you're going to notice something. The piston can push the sticky piston. The piston cannot move the magma piston. The sticky piston cannot also push the magma piston. But with the magma piston is that if I have a sticky or non-sticky, the magma piston can pull and retract both of them in both their stages. All right, and so another thing that also makes them special is if I have a sticky piston and I try and push this obsidian, it doesn't work. A sticky piston, try and push this obsidian, doesn't work. But a magma piston, can in fact move the obsidian. It can move the, it should also be able to move these two as well. Come on. It's just being annoying. It can move all of these just perfectly fine. There we go. So with that, in fact, this does add it. So it does add the feature that if you wanted to personally move your end portal, you absolutely could. I think that would be quite interesting. I am absolutely curious. So I have an end portal here. So this is just going to be like a little bit of a bonus, I guess. Can I move these? So it'll retract it. I want it to just, yeah, launch it like that. Launch it like that. And then the moment of truth. Ah, it can't. If I... Ah, okay. So, if you want to move your end portal, and this is something that you are doing, uh, do not activate the end portal until it is in the position that you wish to put it in. Otherwise, what you would probably have to do is you would have to, like, let's say you've already activated this, you would have to find another portal unactive in the world, and you would have to push it out of the way, and you would just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until you get it in the way. Simply push one out of the way, and then push it back into its place, and then you would have to relaunch it. It opens an already open portal in this case, but beyond that, that would be the more difficult way to do that. You would also have a lot of end portals, like open end portals, if you kept doing it like that. But I think that is just about it. We have now made super advanced classes. So what does this really teach you? What is the point of this? The point of this is by just using registries and without mixins, you could potentially copy every single block individually from Minecraft, and you could rewrite Minecraft completely from scratch. Sort of from scratch. I mean, if you wanted to do it from scratch, you'd have to do a lot more work, keep going into it. But so mixins would be a lot easier. We will probably get into one example mixin. The way I do mixins, if I'm trying to do something personally, is very wrong, which is why I'm not teaching mixins. But there is one mixing example that I do have in which it is done correctly. So that one will be taught. So with that in mind, this is our magma piston. It does function and work, and then if I try and craft it, it should be in our good old crafting table. If I get some magma cream and some pistons, I didn't see if I unlocked the recipe. Hopefully I did. Magma cream, piston. Did I? Alright, I did something wrong because I just unlocked it now. Uh, that's perfectly fine. I'm pretty sure somebody could figure it out. And then lastly, the other thing is if I have a pickaxe, does it break faster if I have a pickaxe? So break it with your hand, takes a little bit of time. Break with a pickaxe, much faster. You get the magma piston back, and the loot table also works. So everything is absolutely functional. So that is going to be it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and without further ado,